Hey, I'm Cameron.
Hey, I'm Tim.
I'm the student director at the Stono campus.
I'm the high school pastor at the 410 campus. Now, Cameron, we have this thing that we do fairly often where I tell you that I'm not going to tell you how to feel, and then I proceed to tell you how to feel. So tell me how that's working out for you.
You know, and Tim, I love the conversations that we have, and I do appreciate your sensitivity to not tell me how I should feel, because emotions are something that happen, and we can't necessarily control them, right?
Right.
But you're always coming at it from the perspective of, giving me perspective, and stepping back and taking a look at a situation, and I appreciate that. But kind of going along with that theme, I've been thinking about emotions and feeling a lot. I'm an emotional person. I tend to wear my emotions on my sleeve. You, Ronald, the other people that work with me kind of know that about me. And one of my common, whenever there's an icebreaker question that's what's an area of growth you want to see in the next 6 months, 12 months, 12 days, whatever. 12 days of Christmas. What's an area of growth that you want to see? For me, it's usually, I wish that I wasn't as controlled by my emotions, that I didn't act out of fear or anxiety or anger or frustration, or generally I wish that things didn't bend me out of shape as much as they do. I tend to have an emotional response, and I can get really bummed out or really frustrated or really excited, and I tend to give into that. And I was lamenting this with another pastor on staff, Jason Upmore, and he said something that he doesn't remember saying, but it was golden. I've been thinking about it a lot, and it's this idea that, you know what, emotions are there's something that we feel. There's something that's a part of being made in God's image. God himself experiences emotions. Ours are twisted and broken, because we as human beings are twisted and broken, and every aspect of our humanity is as well. But and this is what Jason said to me, is you may not be able to change your emotions, but God, through experiences, will change the way that you feel about things. And that has just been mind-blowing to me, because in the moment we're going to struggle with something is going to make you upset, mm-hmm. right? And something's going to bum you out. So, but if you look back over your life, you'll see a development in the way that you respond to things. So more than 10 years ago, I had a dog that passed away, and I hadn't really experienced death in my family or anything like that, and that really hit me hard. And I definitely cried about that, and was bummed out for extended period of time. And since then I've had other animals pass away and stuff like that, and it still makes me sad, but my emotional capacity has grown, and now that I'm a dad and I'm married to a wife, the passing of an animal, it's definitely a bummer. You don't want to lose an animal. Mm-hmm. But through gaining more experience, God has grown me in maturity to deal with that in a more healthy way, or something that may have really scared me a couple of years ago, or given me a whole lot of anxiety, doesn't so much anymore. And so yes, dealing with emotions is something that we definitely need to do, but just realize that God is he is growing you, and he is the things that you're praying for. I realize that God has been answering that prayer all along. I just haven't had the presence of mind to look back and to see how he has grown me, how he's used people around me, you, just to give me perspective and to step back and think about a situation. So yeah, I just want to share that.
Well, I think it's really cool, because really what drives a lot of those conversations we have is the fact that you're going to have emotions, yeah. And like you said, you can't be controlled by those emotions, and how we respond to what happens to us matters. And there are times where it's perfectly acceptable to feel sad. There's perfectly acceptable to be angry, or perfectly acceptable to respond the way we respond. But we have to balance that out with knowing the truth and knowing where we are being controlled by the emotion, or we are responding with an emotion. And I think that the more we balance that, that's God growing us, that's God teaching us, and so there are some things that used to upset me to no end, in all kinds of different ways, that don't bother me at all now, because like you said, your capacity to to deal with the truth and to deal with, okay, God's walking me through this. How am I going to trust Him through this? How am I going to respond in that He's challenging me to grow from this is huge. And I think I think it's a great, cool thing that God's teaching you through this, and that you're allowing Him to say, hey, no, we're gonna change your heart, even as you deal with these emotions.
So Tim, let me ask you like a really practical question. Say, I've tried out for the high school baseball team or some team or organization, and I've made it before in situations like this. I'm expecting to get that thing to be a part of that group, but then I don't make the cut, and I haven't really experienced something like that before, and it's like it's causing me a lot of anxiety. It's making me really mad. I'm also feeling a little bit ashamed. And like I can't control how I feel about this. Like you can tell me how I should feel, but I'm
absolutely.
You're
going to feel these things.
I'm going
right.
to feel it.
Yeah.
How in that situation would you encourage me to respond, and just to seek God, and to not, like we said, be controlled by my emotions, but to not push them to the side.
Right.
To affirm
Right.
that they're real.
Right. Well, and it makes sense to be disappointed in that situation. Then you've got to figure out why you're disappointed. Are you disappointed because everybody around you got better and you didn't? Are you disappointed because you didn't try hard enough? Maybe you're disappointed in yourself, and you need to be disappointed in yourself. You need to be sad because you could have worked harder and you just assumed. Are you disappointed because the coach was out to get you? Maybe that's possible. Maybe you got in crossways with the coach. The coach said, "No, I don't want him playing for my team now." There's all kinds of, if you look at those and you can say, "Hey, I don't know why I didn't make the team." There's some times I don't know. I've experienced. I love seeing that when students. I don't love seeing the injury, but I love seeing students that are so committed to XYZ sport, and then all of a sudden something happens that they can't pursue that sport anymore, because that's God trying to get their attention. And it's God saying, hey, did this just become more important than me? Did this relationship just become more important?
Are you finding your identity in this?
Are you finding your identity in this? And so to me, I think that there's some soul searching that goes with it. Are you still sad? Yes. I had a family friend that my mom texted me about the other day. She's no longer with us. My mom's sad about it. Is that wrong? No, absolutely not. She misses her friend. But she's also still reminded in that truth element of this, of the hope that we know that she is with Jesus. And so that this is sad because we miss her, but we're not destroyed by this. Same thing. It's like, what am I finding my identity in? Is it in that sport? Is it in that event that I didn't make? Is it the thing that I missed out on, that it was so I am crushed because that's not me, and now I've lost all that I am? Or did I realize, hey, you know what, God's doing something else here, and I'm going to trust Him in the midst of that? Still dealing with those emotions. And maybe still being mad at yourself for not trying hard enough. It's one of those. Or maybe, and that's okay. And that's like, okay, this is a learning experience. Again, like you said, seeking God. I think that was the key component of what you said earlier, is seeking God and saying, okay, look, I recognize what I have to play in this. God, what do you want from me out of this? Because then you're finding your identity in who you are, and that is a believer in Jesus. There you find your identity in being a child of God, and saying, whatever happens to me, I am His first. And that becomes so much more important. It's the same as when you go through these different emotions. It's like, no, what's most important? I'm going to live out the truth. And then, as I deal with those emotions, say, okay, I'm going to live here a minute. I'm going to live here a little bit. Because it still hurts, whatever it is. But then recognize, okay, God's doing something in this.
And He's trustworthy.
And He's absolutely trustworthy.
Maybe I can just close with this, and something that we've talked about a lot. You know this about me, and I'm going to admit it in front of everybody. I there's so many times in my life where I thought I knew the direction my life was going, and God came and then took me on a left or a right turn, and it was unexpected. And one of them is I graduated from high school with great grades, great scores. I had a great transcript. I was headed to Texas A&M to go to the architecture school. I was going to get a great degree so I could get a great job. And for whatever reason, Like, nobody can tell me why. I didn't get into Texas A&M, and I was devastated. And it broke my heart, and I was so angry at God. But I can honestly say, looking back, I know for a fact that I wouldn't be where I am today, literally, because so many things happened as a result of God saying no to that.
Right.
And if you had told me then, Cameron, in X number of years you're going to be a student pastor and pastoring college students, I would have punched you in the face. Didn't want that to be a part of my life, but looking back, God has done something in me. I wouldn't change that for the world, and He has proven Himself trustworthy to me. And so, yeah, I had to deal with those emotions.
Sure.
But having somebody that comes alongside me, like you, and just say, you can trust God, and you may find out, you may never, but just know that God is indeed trustworthy in those moments, and seek Him.
He loves you and wants the best for you.
So do we.